Hello, everyone. Welcome. Oh, thank you for the glass taps. Fantastic. Well, as everyone finds their way to the seat, I will begin by saying it is such a delight to see everyone here tonight. Last year's dinner was wonderful, but if you look around at the quantity of people, we are back, and the energy in the air right now, it's electric. Thank you. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Jordan Diamond, and for the past 9 months, I have had the delightful honor as serving as the president of ELI. Part of the privilege of my position is getting to make the welcoming remarks tonight. But if there is one lesson I have learned in life, it is that no one wants long, extensive welcoming remarks, except maybe Ben Wilson, because he always has my back. Thank you, Ben. But other than that, you are all here to see each other, to enjoy your dinners, and please keep eating while I'm talking. But I will keep these, my Gen X soul will embrace Gen Z culture. I will try and keep this very brief. But I do want to make just a few points. First and foremost, I have to say thank you. Thank you all for coming together today to celebrate. Thank you to those of you online. We miss you and wish you were here, but thank you for being with us in spirit. Thank you to our wonderful star sponsors, and an even bigger thank you to our star sponsors. You are out of this world. No pun intended, actually, truly. Thank you to our leadership council, many of whom I had the privilege of seeing last night. Thank you to our board of directors, many of whom are here tonight. And if I could just take one moment to the members of our leadership council and our board of directors, would you take a moment and rise? And please stand up for just a moment so we can thank you. Thank you to this truly incredible group of people for the time, the energy, and the resources you give to ELI and how you help us fulfill our mission. And thank you to our partners and collaborators who are here tonight. We exist to serve and support you, and we could not have the impact we do without you. Gratitude to all the members of the administration who are here tonight. Thank you for your public service. And thank you to the students who are here on a school night and who are our future. And finally, my heartfelt thanks to the awe-inspiring staff at ELI, who are the reason that I am happy to get up and go to work every day, who make it so meaningful, and who did such a spectacular job organizing tonight's event. Melody DeMulling, who absolutely hates being called out, our vice president, our wizard and queen of this evening. I don't know how you do it. Okay. So as I said, in keeping with short remarks, I would like to make just 3 points. 1, who is ELI? 2, what are we doing? And 3, what is it that sets us apart? So first, who is ELI? From my point of view, the Environmental Law Institute is a lot of things. We stand for a lot of things, but perhaps nothing more than integrity. We are an independent, nonpartisan center that brings together law, science, and policy to create the strongest environmental governance frameworks possible. We make sure that we have the information necessary to make good decisions, that that information is used, and that we have accountable systems in place. That's what we do. Our goal is to see the best possible environmental governance systems in place around the United States and around the world, protecting and enabling people and the planet. One half of what ELI does is to produce research and analysis, information that provides trustworthy, credible, and objective data. The other half is our education and dialogue mission, our mission to actually foment meaningful, robust, good faith dialogue about critical issues. And we focus on service and justice as we do this, as we strive to support the communities, the stewards, the decision makers, those of you tonight and many more who shape the world around us. What most but not all of you know is that we are a soft money organization without institutional forms of financial support. We have a membership program and we adore our members. That membership program pays for itself. That pays for the educational programs and the other services we provide. We have publication subscriptions. Those go to the cost of producing those publications. And our research is largely grant and contract funded, which means we're very proud of this independence. It also doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room, right? And that is why tonight is a major fundraiser for us. And it is so important to us, and that is why we are so grateful that you are here. We are so grateful whether you have sponsored a table, whether you have donated, whether you wrote a check, or you want to write a check. We are so grateful for the support that you provide, because we wouldn't be here without you. So when you do support us, what are you supporting? So that's point 2, what are we doing right now? Whether you're new to ELI, or you only know us as that place that publishes that magazine, or you know us as that place that has that boot camp you send your associates to, and reminder, send your associates to our boot camp. Or whether you follow us on social, read our blog, attend every event, and have every report on your shelf, whatever you came in knowing about ELI today, I would like you to leave knowing just a little bit more. And so here is a short menu of some of the things that we're doing right now. First, on climate. Our work on today's all-encompassing climate crisis keeps growing. For example, our Climate Judiciary project provides educational resources drafted by leading climate science experts to the judiciary. We have a table here tonight. This is our effort to link climate science and the judicial communities. We have been surprised by just how positive the response has been to this effort, and we are deepening it and expanding it as quickly as we can. The second example, this one is from water. First, I hope you were able to attend the policy forum that we hosted this afternoon on the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. It was moderated by Ben Wilson, and it had the cumulative water wisdom on that panel was off the charts. It was an exceptional conversation. In general, ELI works on water both domestically and internationally. And for example, one example that I'll highlight tonight, as it's rather unique, is that this year we worked with the Swedish International Water Institute to convene the first ever global network forum for the Water and Women Diplomacy Network, bringing together leaders from frontline water and secure basins around the world to collaboratively launch a visionary global strategy to elevate women in high-level decision-making around shared waters. All right, third example, service. What a service that our community can provide. This year, we launched a pro bono clearinghouse. If you have not signed up, please sign up. There is no cost, there is no downside. But if you sign up, you're able to review postings from communities that deeply need legal assistance. There are small matters that will take a few hours. There are large matters that will take a few years. There are air issues, water issues, land use issues, incorporation issues, whatever you are looking for. But there are so many communities out there that don't have access to legal assistance, and there are so many of us that want to provide it. We're trying to bridge that gap and help you meet each other. Okay. One final example I'll give is our more general push to counter misinformation. Right now, this largely comes down to amplifying ELI's voice. In an era where trusted sources are fewer and further between, we are known for our credibility. And so we're working to grow our voice and thus our impact. Subscribers to our podcast, People, Places, Planet, available wherever you get your podcasts, have grown rapidly this year. Over the last few months, we've started repeatedly reaching the 1,000-person barrier for our events, making us think we might need to redo our approach to hosting them. As we expected, a slow bounce back to tonight's dinner, but look around, again, everybody's here, and we're so grateful that you are. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting ELI's voice, and thank you for contributing it. Many of our columns are written by people in this room. Many of our podcasts feature you here tonight, and you are many of the experts that inform all of our work. Thank you. Those are but a few examples of the things we do. Thank you. If you want to learn more about what we do, we have staff members all around the room. We have an annual report that you're welcome to read. Okay, before we move on, my final point, what sets ELI apart? And that is by far the easiest one, because it's the people. It's the people that work at ELI who make 1,000 choices every day that add up to the integrity that we're known for. It's the people on our board and our innermost circles who provide strategic advice and input. It's the people in this room whose support and conversation makes all of this work possible. And ELI is its people, and I'm grateful for that. Right. And in that spirit, there are two people that I want to shine a light on before someone steals my mic or turns it off or some music plays. Right. I'm sorry? Oh. Okay. Thanks. Okay. First, I would like to take a moment to recognize longtime senior attorney Jim McElfish. Many of you know Jim as one of the leading experts on NEPA. Others of you know him for his expertise in wetlands and water. Others of you know him as an expert on any environmental law, regulation, or policy ever written. Okay. Last month, one day after his 36th anniversary with ELI, we celebrated his retirement. There is quite simply no way to overstate Jim McElfish's impact on ELI as an organization and its staff as human beings. He has contributed his insights and his creative pragmatism to countless reports, analyses, book chapters, articles, educational programs, and more. And all the time, he was helping build this community and ensure adherence to the core principles that set ELI apart. He is renowned for his astounding intellect and his deep compassion. Jim, thank you for the mentorship you have provided to me personally, and thank you for every year of service that you have provided to ELI. You have helped make the world a better place. And finally, a few words about the fundamental reason that we are here tonight, which is to honor and celebrate Ben Wilson. I will not usurp the privilege of those who get to introduce Ben later this evening, but I will take a moment to express my personal admiration, heartfelt gratitude, and truly infinite respect for this individual, for his wisdom, his compassionate leadership, and the insight and vision that he has contributed to help ELI map to its future. Ben has been the chair of ELI's board of directors since 2017 and served on the board for much longer. And I will both proudly and apologetically say that Ben tried to step down as chair last year, but I pleaded with him to stay on for one more year, my first year as president. And I will never be able to find the words to thank him enough for the laughter, the support, the perfect advice, and the partnership he has extended to me this year. Ben, you are in a league of your own. You have changed this profession, and we will do everything in our power to continue your legacy in permanent ways. I am so grateful to get to celebrate you tonight. So, having this night every year to connect across our profession, our community, in a spirit of nonpartisanship when everything feels more partisan, in a spirit of community when so much feels fragmented, and in furtherance of the world that we want to leave to our kids and grandkids, I'm deeply thankful to be here with all of you tonight. I'm grateful you chose to be here, and I'm grateful for your support of ELI's work to safeguard our future. So that was probably only short by the measurement of a lawyer, but that was as short as I could be. And so now, speaking of gratitude, it's time to call out our star and superstar sponsors. But rather than taking my word for it, although take my word for it, why don't you listen to someone who knows what it means to show up every day and work, train, practice, and deliver, both on and off the football field. Okay.
Hi everyone, Russell Wilson here. I just wanted to add my voice to all those celebrating my Uncle Ben's lifetime achievements in the environmental profession. You know, Uncle Ben has been a powerful influence in the lives of so many, from the good people at the Environmental Law Institute, in the Beveridge and Diamond Law Firm, to his environmental justice students at Howard University Law School, and the many young professionals, often women and people of color, that he has counseled and mentored throughout his career, to the government and policymakers across decades whom he has shared his input and advice with. Not to mention his amazing commitment to his family and community, which makes what he brings every day to every aspect of his life all the more remarkable. My Uncle Ben is one of a kind. Having him on your team is always a difference maker, I say. It's been that way for me and my family ever since we were young, and I'm sure many here in the room. So congratulations, Uncle Ben. It's hard to imagine anyone more deserving of special recognition for a lifetime of dedicated service to the environment and to all of us. And many thanks to the Environmental Law Institute and to all of you for making this recognition event even possible. A special thanks to the star sponsors for tonight's event, for whom Eli is now going to do some shout outs and some love to. So let me pass things over to Eli. Uncle Ben, I love you.
Thanks so much, Russell. We're so excited to have so many of you back here with us at the Omni, and we're so grateful for your support. We especially want to thank our superstar sponsors, Arnold & Porter, Kay Scholler, Baker Bots, Beverage and Diamond, and Crowell and Mooring. Over to you.
We would like to thank DLA Piper, Hunt and Andrews Kurth, and King and Spalding.
We'd also like to thank Latham and Watkins, Sidley Austin, and Wilmer Cutler Pickering Hale and Dorr.
We would like to thank Covington and Burling, Earth Justice, the ELI's Climate Judiciary Project, and the Environmental Defense Fund.
We would also like to thank Holland and Knight, IBM, Jenner and Block, and K&O Gates.
We would like to thank Shook, Hardy and Bacon, and Venable.
We would like to thank Keller and Heckman, Kirkland and Ellis, Stephen and Susan Mendel, and the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
We would also like to thank Paul Hastings, Perkins Coie, PG&E, and Pfizer.
We would like to thank William Rawson, Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meager, and Flom, Toyota, and Van Ness Feldman.
Thank you. We would also like to thank Wiley Ryan, First Environment, and the Mafia Foundation.
We would like to thank Farella, Braun and Martel, Foley Hoag, FTI Consulting, and General Electric Company.
We would like to thank Bracewell, Lori Burt, and Leslie Carruthers.
We'd also like to thank the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions, Climate Leadership Council, and Constellation Energy.
We would like to thank Geosyntec, Gibson Dunn & Crutcher, Hess, and Hogan Levels.
We would like to thank Aiken Gump, Strauss, Hauer and Feld, Alston and Bird, and Baker and Hostetler.
We'd also like to thank Bergeson and Campbell, Best and Krieger, and BNSF Railway.
We'd like to thank Spire and Marchant Caldwell Partners, the Northwestern Life Insurance Company, Greenberg Traurig, and Haynes and Boone.
I would like to thank all of ELI staff for their patience in putting that together, and also note it's probably good we went into law. Another enormous thank you, truly, to our sponsors, to the star sponsors, to the superstar sponsors, and to Russell Wilson, legend in the making, for making tonight possible, and for your generosity in supporting not only this gathering, but ELI's mission. We wouldn't be here today, tonight, or tomorrow without all of you, and that is not an exaggeration. And I now want to welcome someone to the stage who needs absolutely no introduction in this room. Scott Fulton was the president of ELI from 2015 until New Year's Eve of last year. Everyone here knows what a remarkable and inspiring individual he is and how much he has accomplished in the field of environmental law. But I will simply say that I wish for all of you that someday you have a predecessor who embodies the grace, warmth, and support that Scott has shown to me as I have accepted the ELI leadership reins from him. What a truly extraordinary individual, and he is here to recognize another truly inspiring person. So Scott, over to you.
Well, good greetings, friends. It's wonderful to be together with you again. It falls to me tonight to offer one more word of thanks, and that is thanks for the life and the amazing contributions of our dear and recently departed friend, Judge Nancy Firestone. Many of us worked with Nancy or for Nancy in her various stints at the Justice Department and the Environment Division, where she was the Deputy Chief of the Enforcement Section, and then later the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the division. Or maybe you worked with her when she was the Associate Deputy Administrator at EPA. Or perhaps you appeared before her in her time as a judge at the Claims Court or on the Environmental Appeals Board. Or maybe you took one of her classes at Georgetown Law, where she taught for so many years. Or maybe you knew Nancy from her philanthropic work with theater and the arts. However you knew her, I suspect that you will remember her as I do, as an indomitable force of nature, with the sharpest of minds, the quickest of wits, the readiest and warmest of laughs, and the kindest of hearts. She was a student of many things, but none more so than human nature. She could read people and read a room in a way that was unparalleled, and this was part of what made her an especially powerful advocate, an exceptional leader, a visionary strategist, and an extraordinary problem solver. For those of you who did not know Nancy, I just wish you had. She was a remarkable person and as positive a presence as you could ever hope to encounter in this life. ELI is in dialogue with Nancy's family about a legacy program at the Institute in Nancy's name and honor. Nancy was, among other things, involved in ELI's efforts around the world to build judicial capacity for environmental casework. So the Firestone project at ELI will likely center in this space. I know that many of us are hungering for a way to honor and remember Nancy, so stay tuned on that. We'll be back to you with something on it soon. You all like inside baseball, so I'll throw you just one. There came a point in the Clinton administration when the agency was short an assistant administrator. I was the acting general counsel at that time at EPA, and Nancy was over at DOJ as the deputy AAG. Administrator Carol Browner called me into her office one day and said, "What do you think about Nancy Firestone as a candidate for the vacant AA slot?" I said, "Fabulous idea, of course." Now, mind you, an AA appointment is considered by most to be something of a career coup of sorts. Generally not something you turn down. But when they met and Carol made her ask, Nancy surprised her by politely declining. But then she added that there was indeed a place where she was keen on serving, and that was as a judge on the Court of Federal Claims. "Might you support me for that?" Nancy asked gently. Well, Carol, to her great credit, shrugged off her disappointment in not landing Nancy, put on a bigger hat, and became one of Nancy's strongest supporters in getting her judicial appointment. Now, that's, of course, a testament to Nancy's reputation, but it's also an illustration of how to make things happen in Washington, D.C. The legacy that Nancy leaves behind includes most visibly her jurisprudence as a judge. Perhaps slightly less visible, but no less important, was her role in the birthing of the Superfund program and the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990. In truth, few people can match Nancy's footprint on our field, on environmental quality and public health. And I doubt that anyone had a bigger impact on Superfund in particular than Nancy. And when you consider how much Superfund has driven cultural change within corporate America, playing no small role in the march towards the sustainability ideals and ESG safeguards of today, her mark was nothing short of transformational. So let's remember Nancy tonight in a way that would make her smile. Please grab your glass, stand as you are able, and join me in a toast, if you would. To the unforgettable, the irreplaceable, the luminescent Judge Nancy B. Firestone, and to all that she brought to our work, to our lives, and to our world. To Nancy. Thank you for that, friends. Please have a seat. You're now going to enjoy your entree, and the program recognizing the star of the evening, Ben Wilson, will begin here in a moment.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you for selling out the ELI award dinner. Thank you so, so much, and congratulations. Tonight, I have the pleasure to introduce someone who is very well known to most of us in this room. And I want to make a disclaimer, which is appropriate with so many lawyers together in one place. To do justice to Brenda Mallory would take a lot more time than the brief introduction that we're going to be able to give tonight. And, the second disclaimer, we're only going to talk about Brenda's professional successes, but her family's successes are also very well known and really, really super. Brenda grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, where her family offered her models of service and where she learned the importance of community. These would be two concepts that she would honor consistently throughout her professional career. After graduating from Yale College and Columbia Law School, Brenda went to work at Beveridge and Diamond, where she went on to chair the firm's Natural Resources Practice Group, and where, importantly for tonight, she had occasion to enter the Ben Wilson universe. In 2000, Brenda joined EPA and went on to serve in many significant senior policy positions. She contributed to major efforts and important cases in areas as varied as the Clean Water Act, pesticides and toxic substances, looking at the many risks posed by lead, and the cornucopia of issues that we now recognize presented by PFAS. She played important roles in advancing EPA's environmental justice policies and in reforming the agency's Office of Civil Rights. She left EPA to join the CEQ as general counsel, and while she was there under President Obama, she played an important role in advancing major initiatives, including the 2016 greenhouse gas guidance, the reform of TSCA under the Lautenberg legislation, and the ever-present Clean Water Act rule. After 20 years with of government service, Brenda went on to round out her professional career in the environmental advocacy community, and there too, she was a leader. She was active in the Conservation Litigation Project and also led the Southern Environmental Law Center. Now, while she was doing all this, Brenda still took the time to serve our profession. In addition to taking the roles in bar associations and in other professional associations, Brenda had many voluntary roles as well. She was elected to as a fellow of the American College of Environmental Lawyers. She was an advisor to the Environmental Defense Fund's Litigation Advocacy Committee. She was an advisor to the Environmental Policy Innovation Center's Advisory Committee, and she was on the Advisory Council for Women in Conservation Leadership. While she did those things, she served on the board of directors of the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions, and most importantly for us, she served here with us on the board of the Environmental Law Institute. As we know, on April, absolutely. On April 14th of 2021, Brenda was sworn in as the chair of President Biden's Council on Environmental Quality. It is my distinct honor to welcome CEQ Chair Brenda Mallory back to the Environmental Law Institute. Thank you, Brenda.
Hello, everyone. Oh, yeah, this works. Good to see everyone out there. Thank you, Rob, for a too kind introduction. It's my pleasure to be here and to be part of this wonderful celebration of Mr. Wilson, a longtime friend, and I'm one of the, I guess, many who are in his fan club. So just grateful to have a chance to be here with all of you tonight. Apologies for the voice, can't do anything about it. So in addition to thanking Rob, I also want to just thank the ELI board and the staff for allowing me to be part of this program. I know how important this event is for the organization, and I also know how important Ben is, or has been to the organization, so I'm grateful for the chance to be part of it. And looking out over this audience, although I can't see you now, quite honestly, but I saw many, many friends in the room, and it is just such a pleasure and a privilege to have a chance to be here and engage with all of you. I guess I stand here tonight as someone who is a strong supporter of the organization, for which I have deep and abiding respect for. And also to honor a man who has been a recognized and respected leader in the environment, energy, and natural resources profession for over 4 decades, and someone who has been instrumental in countless ways in many professional journeys, including my own. But before I turn to my principal task tonight, let me just spend a few minutes commenting on a couple of areas of focus across the administration, and particularly in CEQ. I think as this audience knows, President Biden has been incredibly successful in implementing his legislative agenda, from passage of the American Rescue Plan and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, to the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS and Science Law, to the most meaningful action on gun reform in decades, to protecting veterans' health benefits, and the ratification of the Kigali Amendment, just to name a few. All across the administration, we are working to turn these monumental legislative achievements into on-the-ground benefits for the American people. What does that look like? That's the revival of manufacturing in communities that have been left behind. That's the growth of energy efficiency and renewable energy as we move to decarbonize our economy. That's the availability of electric vehicles and charging stations to every person and community that wants them. And as we move to ensure that all communities receive the benefits of a revitalized clean energy economy, it's also about cleaning up legacy pollution that has affected generations of low-income communities. That means increasing air monitors along toxic polluting facilities for fence-line communities. That means removing every lead pipe in drinking water systems. That means creating training and apprenticeship programs. And that means holding companies accountable for not protecting the health and well-being of the communities that host the engines of progress designed to move our economy forward. While we have had a lot of success on the legislative front, there is much, much work ahead. And this is why it is so important for us to take advantage of the importance of public-private partnerships. Given the breadth and complexity of the environmental challenges we face, now more than ever, success for the planet and future generations depends on all sectors and individuals working toward a common goal. That's state and local governments, the business community, academia, nonprofit entities, and think and do tanks like ELI, working toward the goal of restoring and maintaining a livable planet for all. For over 50 years, ELI has used its nonpartisan platform to create opportunities for meaningful dialogue and be a resource for data-driven information and creative technology-based solutions. Those skills and tools are needed more than ever today, and ELI is well positioned to carry that charge forward. So as I turn to the man of the hour, one of Mr. Wilson's many accomplishments, as we've already heard, has been his leadership and stewardship of the Environmental Law Institute as the chairman of the board for the past 5 years. I had the opportunity to serve under his leadership and to see firsthand his driving influence and steady hand during challenging times. I also saw his commitment and dedication to preserving ELI's core ethos while guiding it in new directions. ELI is one of many boards on which Ben has served and led. He has used his talents in academia, in government, in the law firm setting, working for public and private sector entities, as a counselor, a litigator, a negotiator, a mediator. In all of his ventures, he brought his commitment to excellence, dedication to hard work, and drive for results. But today, I want to talk about my personal journey with Ben. We met when he joined Beveridge & Diamond as a partner in 1986. I had already been at the firm for a year and a half as a mid-level associate. And at that time, I believe I was the only African American there. So I both welcomed the arrival of a kindred spirit and was hoping this guy didn't come in here and mess up a good thing that I had worked for. Ben and I were coming from different places. Although we both went to Ivy League colleges and law schools, Ben's journey began in a family of educators in the segregated South, specifically in repressive Mississippi, growing up in the midst of some of the most well-known and jarring events of the civil rights history, from the tragic murders of Emmett Till and Medgar Evers, to Bull Connor fire hosing and releasing dogs on peaceful student protesters, to the bombing of the church, killing 4 little girls. In contrast, I was a few years younger and grew up in Connecticut, where these incidents were relayed to me as part of a history we had overcome. So while we probably started with a different sense of the world, the ingredients of what became a long friendship were always there. Over the years, I have worked with him, I have worked for him, I have done client development with him, firm committees, and bar activities, and I've learned many things, 3 of which I'll share today. Number 1, the connection is sometimes more important than the content. Ben has a naturally folksy Southern charm that I definitely do not. There is no topic that is not enhanced by adding a story about a great historical figure or civil rights battle or his conversation with a wise old woman from some neighborhood, and of course, a sports analogy. In the early years of our meeting, I sometimes looked quizzically at when he told one of these stories that seemed extremely long and only slightly relevant to whatever was happening. But I learned it always was on point. And the point might have been to change the atmosphere in the room, to make it easier for the hard and challenging conversation to continue, to remind us all of the shared interest we were working towards. So number 2, the power of a positive greeting and attitude. So whenever I'd run into Ben in the halls at B&D with a typical greeting that was like, "How you doing?" He'd respond, "Fantastic, Miss Mallory." And it always made me laugh and sort of filled me with joy for that moment. And so when I left the firm and went to EPA, I felt that that vibe was needed where I was. And I don't remember exactly when I claimed it as my own, but I did. And my word during those early years was fabulous. So even today, as I end my morning meeting with my senior team, I always end off by saying, it's gonna be another great day at the White House, to which I get eye rolls in the same way that I used to give Ben. But the lesson I took from all of that was that as a leader, you make a choice to do what you do every day. You might as well do it with some positive energy. And that, to me, epitomizes the way that Ben navigates the world. And then number 3, you can always make time for the things that matter. So we've seen on Ben's biographies that throughout his career, Ben has been incredibly generous with his time, his talent, and his resources. That is through support of professional organizations like ELI and service and civic organizations like the Healthy Babies and the DC Board of Elections. The announcement for this award lists a whole slew of other organizations and individuals that he has helped along the way. It also highlights his unwavering focus on diversity and inclusion in all aspects of the profession, and environmental justice as a core value in the environmental work that we all do. And these are areas for which Ben and I have had a chance to collaborate in recent times. But as significantly, he has helped and supported countless people in their personal journeys, and I count myself among them. For me, he has been standing by and supporting me in every significant professional move that I've made as an advisor and sounding board and mentor and source of encouragement. The one example of Ben's commitment that I love is a story that I heard from his daughter, Rachel, who spoke at an event where Ben was being honored. Rachel had played basketball at Sidwell and then also at University of Pennsylvania. And she shared how Ben had attended every one of her games in both schools. So that obviously is an amazing logistical feat, particularly during the college years. But when I heard her tell the story, you could see how meaningful it was to her. And it was a lesson in why it's worth the effort to do what you value. So let me close where I began by saying it is such an honor to be part of the celebration of Ben's extraordinary career, one that not only reflects the excellence and sophistication of a complex environmental and energy practice, but was carried out with the commitment and dedication to making this a better world for all. His mark on the world runs well beyond the Volkswagen emissions proceedings and coal ash settlements, or lead paint regulations in public housing, or water and wastewater treatment facility improvements. And it's for that generosity and kindness and willingness to help make a path for anyone who needs a hand and to be a servant leader to all that I am particularly proud to see him receive the award. I used to accept the adage that good guys never get what they deserve, but Ben's well-deserved recognitions over the last 5 years have been proof positive that sometimes they do. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Wilson, ELI's 2022 Environment Achievement Award winner.
laughing, man.
Thank you, Brenda, for your introduction. Thank you, Ben, for being here. It is my pleasure to officially commemorate your receipt of the Environmental Law Institute's 2022 Environmental Achievement Award by reading a brief passage from it. Right? I cannot read that, so I'm going to read from here. This award honors Benjamin F. Wilson as a singular leader in the environmental bar, as a skilled advocate and counselor, as a tireless proponent of civil rights, as a mentor to countless professionals, and as an architect of equitable and sustainable solutions to vexing environmental problems. Over the course of his remarkable career, Ben's clients range from the largest global corporations to the smallest municipalities, and he became renowned for his ability to forge solutions that benefited not only his clients, but also the local communities. And through it all, Ben has served as mentor to scores of environmental lawyers, helping new professionals launch and mid-career professionals excel. ELI celebrates all of Ben's contributions to the profession and is especially grateful for the fact that he has served for over a decade on ELI's board of directors, the last 6 as chair. Ben's grace, fortitude, and compassion have helped the Institute both to navigate some of its most complex challenges and to forge a vision for its future. A remarkable environmental lawyer and community leader, Ben's influence will reverberate for decades to come in the long arc of environmental and civil rights law, across the legal profession, and in communities throughout the nation. Okay. Ben, thank you. Move this out of the way and over to you.
Uh-oh. Need a little light up here. Good evening. Brenda, I can't begin to thank you for that marvelous and entirely accurate introduction. My stories many times, as Miranda often reminds me, make no sense and have no relevance whatsoever. But you, like so many others in this room, have endured them, and I thank you for that. But I also wanted to say to you, and I wanted to say also to the Assistant Attorney General, on behalf of all in this room, that we appreciate your dynamic and courageous leadership. We believe in the rule of law. We believe environmental issues are a matter of public health. And it really takes a remarkable courage and determination to do what you're doing. And I'm confident about how we will end up, because I know we will not surrender. We will not quit. I'd like to begin, if you don't mind, by thanking a few people. First of all, what a warm applause. My goodness, you're trying to make me cry. But that's water. So first, there's Jordan Diamond, who sits there. She's our dynamic and thoughtful leader of ELI. She is focused on the great environmental issues of our time, and she has the intellectual capacity to address any of them. But what I find most gratifying, Jordan, is that you are invested and dedicated to the staff to make up our ELI team. Joining in the midst of COVID, you have ably steered our ELI ship past the rocky shoals of transition. You have a vision of ELI that will have an even greater impact on the years to come. Thank you. Applaud Jordan, if you don't mind. Second, I also wish to recognize her immediate predecessors as president of ELI, my friends Scott Fulton and John Cruden. I was extremely proud to call them my colleagues at Beveridge and Diamond, but it was during their work at EPA and DOJ, respectively, that I first came to admire their integrity and commitment to the environment and the rule of law. Both Scott and John left ELI better than they found it. Applause. So you can see I'm going to make it work tonight. Third, there's the remarkable staff of ELI. The examples of their extraordinary service are legion. Working through the unprecedented challenges of COVID, family and personal health issues, and with limited resources, makes the performance of our ELI team all the more special. And as I'm sure we all recognize, there is no dinner like the one we are enjoying tonight without the incomparable Melody DeMulling. And Melody? Yes. So Melody's hiding, but I'm going to direct the lights. Turn on the light, let it shine on her. All right. She can run, but she can't hide. So her incomparable fundraising efforts and your unsparing support make the critical work of ELI possible. This happened earlier, but I will do it briefly. I feel impelled to recognize two special people, Jay Pendergrass and Jim McElfish, and I will embarrass them and ask them to stand. Combined, they have served ELI over 70 years. Over 70 years. They selfless, caring, concerned, collaborative are but four of the words I would use to describe them. Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Jim. Fourth, I wish to thank our conscientious and dedicated board who have done everything to make ELI a success. Our board is a diverse one, half women, half men, racially, geographically, ethnically diverse. It is a working board, and much of the work of ELI reflects the direct involvement of our board members. For 6 years, they have unceasingly supported our efforts. Thank you. I want to thank the sponsors that my favorite quarterback and our wonderful staff acknowledged. This is, suffice it to say, we more than exceeded what our goal was, and it's all your fault. I also need to thank so many friends, clients, and others. Some of you are in the room, and some are perhaps watching online. But none of this, no one succeeds alone. No one wins alone. And together, because of you, we have won tonight. Thank you. Now, I also wish to thank my law firm, Beveridge and Diamond, and I think they're sitting here, here, and there. I'm going to get them to stand real quickly. They are my former colleagues, and I want to thank them for their support of ELI and for their unstinting support of me during my time with the firm. They continue to provide an uncommon level of service to our clients and our community. To quote Daniel Webster, when arguing before the United States Supreme Court on behalf of my alma mater, it is a small firm, sir, and yet there are those who love it. I'm also extremely proud of my colleagues' commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, not only at the firm, but throughout the profession. Now, our firm's relationship with ELI has involved many of my colleagues, but none has given more than my friend Paul Hagan. Paul, you must stand, please. There you are. Man, if I look like that, I'd stand every day. He can peer into the future, and his wisdom has benefited many a client and colleague. Thank you, Paul, for your friendship and sage advice. Last but not least, I must recognize the most important person in my life, my wife, Miranda. Because of because of our concern for her health, and we are also the day caregivers for our grandson, Cameron, Monday through Friday. It's just me tonight. But we've been married for 46 years. You know, when I think of Miranda, I recall the words from the musical Dreamgirls. And Scott, I wish I had the courage of you to sing. When I first saw you, I said, oh my. I said, oh my, this is my dream. Y'all remember that? So contrary to this generous introduction from Brenda, my life has not been without setbacks and challenges. In the words of Langston Hughes, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. But when I failed, Miranda said, next time. When I wanted to quit, she said, not yet. And when it seemed like my ship might never come in, she said, your day will come. Thank you, Miranda. And I'm looking right at her. Thank you for our day has come. Now, there are a couple people that I want to be sure to recognize tonight. There are some of my students from the Howard University School of Law. And they're all over this room. Some are at this table. Would you just stand for a second and wave at everybody? And there are also students from the Anacostia High School. Where are you? There they are. I'm extremely proud of them, and I'm grateful they are here. Now, if you'll permit me to tell you a story, and I'll take my seat. Over 70 years ago, see, Brenda, you were right. A young couple is about to start a new life in the Deep South. Their car is packed to the gills. There is barely enough room to sit. A bouncing baby boy rests in a basket at his mother's feet. Can you see him? They do not have the benefit of a green book informing them of where they can stop safely along their journey. The father's been to Nashville as a student athlete and knows a safe neighborhood there to buy gas. A friend has instructed them where to stop in the city on the bluff, Memphis, before the final leg of their journey on Highway 51 South. Every precaution has been made to avoid an unfortunate incident along a dark Mississippi highway. As you have no doubt deduced, I was the baby in the basket at his mother's feet. You see, long before Barack Obama was elected president, when the light of freedom was darker than 1,000 midnights, my future in the Magnolia State rested in the hands of my parents, Anna and Harrison Wilson, and a few lawyers I would later come to know. As a matter of background, when I was not yet 4, George Washington Lee was killed in Humphreys County, Mississippi, for registering to vote and for encouraging other blacks to vote. 2 months after my 4th birthday, Emmett Till was murdered and his body mutilated. His offense, whistling at a white woman in Sunflower County, Mississippi. When I was 8, Mac Charles Parker was pulled from a jail in Pearl River County, Mississippi, and lynched for a crime he did not commit. There was no mythical Atticus Finch standing guard with a rifle. When I was not yet 12, Bull Connor, a name that shall live in infamy, turned fire hoses and sicked German shepherds on young demonstrators in a park in Birmingham. The following summer, I think my friend Bob Stanton is here, Medgar Evers was killed by a gunman hiding in the bushes near his home. The assassin's crime would go unpunished for 31 years. Assistant Attorney General Kim, that was my hometown of Jackson, Miss. That fall, 4 black girls were killed by a bomb planted in the basement of their Birmingham church. The following summer of my 13th year, James Chaney of Meridian Andrew Goodman and Mickey Schwerner of New York were found buried ignominiously in a Neshoba County earthen dam. Despite these horrors and the specter of the State Sovereignty Commission and the advent of white citizens' councils across the South, my parents, like Sam Cooke, believed a change was going to come. And like thousands, you all can interrupt me anytime you want, and like thousands of other black parents, before and after, they prepared their children to be ready when the change came. And the change came. So allow me a moment to acknowledge a few of the lawyers who helped make this change possible. They were not from Washington, D.C. or the federal government. They included Wiley Branton, who represented the 9 students who integrated Central High School in Little Rock. I don't know if there's anyone from Louisiana, but there was A.P. Turo, a Howard graduate, who represented Ruby Bridges, the little girl who integrated the New Orleans public schools. You will recall that case, won't you? It was memorialized in that famous Norman Rockwell painting, a little black girl in a pristine white dress, books and ruler in hand, escorted to school by 4 headless U.S. Marshals, a racial epitaph scrawled on the wall, an errant tomato on the ground. In Montgomery, there was a 24-year-old Fred Gray who represented a young 25-year-old new minister in town, Martin Luther King Jr. Further east in Atlanta, there was Donald Hollowell. He represented, among his clients were Charlene Hunter and Hamilton Holmes, who integrated the University of Georgia. Some of you may recall that iconic photo of their being accompanied to the registrar's office in Athens by a tall, dark, young, handsome attorney, Vernon Jordan. Now, in Nashville, there was Z. Alexander Luby. He represented the Freedom Riders and the college students who sat in at lunch counters throughout the South. Among Mr. Luby's clients was Mr. Good Trouble himself, John Lewis. Now, I recognize, by the way, for those of you keeping score, I'm over halfway through. But unless you think I've forgotten the women, I have not. There was Constance Baker Motley. So she was the first woman I ever met with 3 names. She dared to do what no man would do. She represented James Meredith, who integrated Ole Miss. You see, his then wife was my 6th grade student teacher. Now, I was gravely disappointed to learn that Meredith's lawyer was not a physical giant. But I learned an invaluable lesson because of the courage and strength of Constance Baker Motley. I now understood that one need not be a man and physically imposing to effect transformational change. When I entered law school, the challenges to the environment were emerging. New challenges were emerging. There was no environmental law course. There was a course called Administrative Law, taught by Richard Stewart. Some of you knew him. One of our early cases was Citizens to Save Overton Park. Later, I discussed this case when I began teaching at the Howard Law School 17 years ago. Like Professor Stewart, we discussed the issue of standing, the scope of NEPA, the difference between an environmental assessment, Brenda, and environmental impact statement. Unlike Professor Stewart, however, I then asked my students, who wrote for the majority? There was a shuffling of papers. You guys remember that. And one of the students answered proudly, Marshall. I then raised a question which at Howard was the equivalent of asking who is buried in Grant's tomb. I asked, where did Marshall go to law school? And I wanted our students to understand that America's greatest civil rights attorney had made an indelible mark, an indelible impact on environmental law. Now, shortly thereafter, one of my students, she might be in this room, stated that she felt environmental law was a topic of concern for other people. I think she was speaking to me in code. I said, "Do you mean white people?" That's what my daughter Rachel might call a teaching moment. I then asked the students about Hurricane Katrina and showed them a photo of the parked school buses that were unavailable to take people to safer, higher ground because of the absence of drivers and keys to the buses. I suggested that had this student taken our course on environmental justice, taught by Quentin Pear and Daria Neal and Nicholas Targ, and had taken that course and worked for the mayor of New Orleans, the absent drivers and missing keys may have been made available. I'm looking at these women right here, I wanted her to understand that people mattered, that the environment mattered, that she mattered, and she could make a difference. All right, headed home. And now, a brief word about the future. Now, you don't need me to tell you that climate change is the defining issue of our time. You need not be reminded of the rising temperatures predicted by 2050. You are fully aware of the raging fires in the American West, the record temperatures in Europe this past summer, and the decline of the Arctic sea ice and the glaciers of the Alps. I believe Lincoln would be terribly upset to know that the Father of waters no longer flows unvexed to the sea. Old Man River just doesn't keep rolling along. And you are very much conscious of the impact of the monsoon season in Asia and the hurricane season in the Gulf on the economy of those regions. You are also mindful, as Scott likes to remind me, of the environmental harm and the utterly devastating impact of war upon the environment and millions of people in the Ukraine and the Middle East, particularly when they target nuclear facilities and other energy sources. But you must also be equally aware that the problem within the problem of climate change is the issue of climate justice. There can be little doubt that the impact of climate change falls disproportionately on the poor and on people of color. Far too seldom do those communities experience the benefits of adaptation, mitigation, and climate investments. This need not be the case. Stated simply, we can no longer tolerate these ongoing issues such as the water crises in Flint and more recently in my hometown of Jackson. To meet these challenges, we must disenthrall ourselves, as Lincoln would say, and bring new solutions to old problems. At Howard, we've expanded our course offerings in environmental law. Carlton Waterhouse helped with that. Sarah Fort and Michael Panfill, Justin Hansford, Billy Wilkerson, Nicholas Targ, who got us started, he and Quentin Pear, and also Daria Neal. This is important, and in the time since we started teaching, we now have several hundred African American attorneys who are graduates of Howard Law School who practice environmental law. And by the way, I left one very important name out of that list of people, and that's Roger Martella. The Howard students are interested in international law, too. It's an international university, and it's their world. And so I'm proud of what Roger has done. I would also add that ELI is not sitting on the sideline. We are offering programs and panels on environmental justice. Today, when we talked about the Clean Water Act, we spent an awful lot of time talking about EJ and making direct and indirect references to many of these issues that are in our headlines today. We will have an environmental justice coordinator, and we will make this an important part of what we do. I have Jordan's word on it, and I trust Jordan implicitly. I applaud EPA's recent decision to establish a new national office charged with advancing EJ and civil rights. But as I think Brenda said, we have the money, we have the offices, we have the people. But the question is, what are we going to do? And are we ready to act? So the question tonight is not whether these environmental challenges exist, but whether it matters if we seek to change them. As Dr. King suggested so many years ago, the measure of a man, or woman, Dr. King, is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where she stands at times of challenge and controversy. My question to you tonight as you head home is, where do you stand? Have you already thrown in the towel on our capacity to impact climate change? Are you no longer willing to think globally and act locally? Do you believe that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere? Do you still believe in the rule of law? Are you willing to fight for it? Does ELI still have a purpose? Man, this is unsettling. I'm glad you've allowed me to raise these questions. You see, I believe the answer to them, unlike Bob Dylan, is not blowing in the wind. I believe there is still time to make a difference on climate change and climate justice. You see, I want to be able to look my grandson, Cameron, age 20 months, in the eye when in a few years he asks the question, "What did you do, Grandpa, to address the great issues of your time, climate change and climate justice?" In just a generation, we will know the answer to all the questions I raised and the one that Cameron is about to ask. Finally, if you wish to know why your answer is so important, please know that somewhere in the world tonight, perhaps in Accra, Berlin, Bombay, Kiev, Moscow, Sao Paulo, Shenzhen, or even Washington, D.C., a young couple is traveling tomorrow to start a new life. Their car is packed to the gills. There is barely enough room to sit. A bouncing baby girl is buckled up safely in her car seat. Can you see her? Let us resolve tonight, here and now, to ensure that by her 18th birthday, 2040, the companies we represent and on whose boards we sit, as well as the government agencies we lead and serve as counsel, have kept their promises on climate change. Let us resolve that by 2050, we in fact have achieved a promised net positive impact on the environment. And this is for my friends Kim and Mallory. And let us commit to getting this work done with equity and justice in mind, so that the benefits of our work are equally shared and the burdens are not disproportionately placed on the most vulnerable. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is watching. That little girl and her parents are counting on ELI. They and future generations are counting on us. They are counting on you. Thank you and good night.
Ben, you have changed the face of environmental law. You've changed the complexion of environmental law. And for those of us, you know, it can be lonely. And having you as our beacon has been tremendous. So it's a little corny, but we have these glow sticks on the table, and we just wanted to lower the lights, and we wanted each of you to stand. If Ben impacted your career, if he helped you as a law student, if he helped you as an associate, as a general counsel, if your life is different, if you extend more graciousness in your life because of Ben, we just want you to stand, and we want to recognize you, Ben. You have changed our lives, and we love you.
See, if you're not careful, Scott and I are going to get up here and sing, "This Little Light of Mine."
Okay. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Nadira, for leading that moment. Thank you, Ben, for stealing my notes. So we're gonna wing it from here on out. But we are coming to the close of the celebration tonight. This is just the last moment when I just want to take another moment to recognize the extraordinary impact Ben has had on all of us individually, on our profession, and thank you for helping honor that legacy for years to come. I also want to take a moment, in addition to all of you in this room and all of our sponsors, thank you for taking this moment to commit to be here and to celebrate everything we do in our profession. I also want to thank our staff. At ELI, we are a small organization. We have 50 people. We have 55 people on our staff. We're a small organization, small but mighty. John Cruden used to say we punch above our weight. But for tonight, we have already embarrassed Melody twice. I will do it one more time. Thank you, Melody Demoling. Thank you. Thank you to her team who have worked tirelessly. Weekends have not meant anything to them over the past month, including Laura Goldman, Maiden Dix, Renee West, Madison Calhoun, some of the organizers of today's event, Kathy Way, organizers of today's events, Adam Schemp, Loretta Reinersman, who's captivating Melody right this moment, Jay Pendergrass, Jim McElfish, everyone who has contributed, Rachel Jean-Baptiste sitting right back there. Thank you for all the heart and soul and effort that you have put in tonight's event. For now, I believe I am the last thing standing between you finishing your dessert and apparently the hotel bar is the place to be. And so I will stop talking except to express my gratitude to all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for being part of our community.